We're here on Sunday, one of the hottest darn aftershocks I've been a part of. And I know Mark is feeling that heat. I got Mark here from Redlight King. How are you doing, Mark?
Yeah, I'm great. Good to be here.
Killer set today,
Yeah.
by the
Thanks.
way.
Appreciate
Want to
it.
say thank you for kicking off Sunday with such a badass set.
I would have played Old Man had I known it was on high rotation.
Well,
Or
see,
not high, but,
well,
classic rotation.
It's in recurrence.
Recurrence.
And that's what I was talking with Mark just
I think
a minute
I'm in
ago.
recurrence right
You
now.
guys missed it. We were talking about just like badass tracks, and Old Man is one of those ones that honestly it came out of left field.
Yeah.
When we got it serviced to us, when I get cover songs, I'm like, okay, we'll see how it goes, right? But this one was different. I remember distinctly when I was an associate program director at the time, and my PD, he brought me into the studio to listen to it, and he's like, tell me what you think of this. And he didn't give me any heads up, no context or nothing, and he just pressed play, and we sat there, and I listened to it, the whole thing, all the way through. And I'm like, that's one of the best damn covers I've heard of a track in my life. And I gotta say, man, you nailed it. You really did.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
How did that come about? What's the I know you probably get asked that a million times, but what's the history behind it?
I don't think it's a million yet, but it's probably 100,000. No, I'll answer it every time because I'm proud of it, and I also think it's crazy.
How
like on the outside,
it's got a life of its own.
Outside looking in, I think it's crazy that I'm so stoked it resonates with people. I wrote it about my dad.
Yeah.
And he's been gone for 10 years now.
Yep.
But I wrote it before he passed, so he heard it. And I was most proud of that. The second thing I was proud of was Neil liked it. And he's never allowed a sample before in his life.
Exactly.
So how it came to fruition was I had written a song without the sample in it. It was called Hard Working Hands, and it was pretty much. And I think about still releasing it because it's still badass.
You should.
It's a different chord. I'm singing in the chorus, more of a hook.
Do it.
It's similar chord structure.
Yeah.
It's similar groove, but it's slightly different. And then I heard Old Man on the way home from the studio when I was cutting the song.
Oh,
and I
wow.
thought, just for fun, I'm going to put his voice in it, or maybe I can get a hold of Neil through my label to do a duet kind of thing or have him feature on it.
Sure.
Because that would be amazing. And then, so then I just started picking out the sounds and sort of copying the sounds of the original record.
Yep.
And replaying them so it sounds like a sample.
Yeah.
And then for the part where he sings Old Man, I just EQ'd the snot out of it and sent it through some compressors and stuff. And pulled his vocal out and matched it in. So it's his voice. Neil
but it
voice.
sounds really cool the way you did it.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So then, as far as the approval process goes, Neil's Young label heard it, said no. Neil's Young A&R said no. Neil Young's label and the people in the master said no. And then so I said, well, has Neil said no? His manager said no. I said, has Neil said no? And he hadn't. So I said, well, let's get it to Neil. I think he'll like it.
That's awesome, man. Way to be persistent.
And so Neil heard it, and he said, I think Neil really liked it. The word is he really liked it. He thought it was a hit.
That's killer, man. Yeah. What a cool story. All right, let's talk about the new stuff you got going on, though. On May 5th, 2022, we've been playing In Our Blood. That is another one that is in recurrence right now. And I got to say, man, when this one came out, I'm like, Redlight King is back. I'm sure you've released some stuff, obviously, since then. But this was like a banger, dude. It came out of nowhere for us in the rock world, and it has a really fresh, I don't know how to describe the production behind it, but it sounds very anthemic and fresh.
Oh, thanks.
It's really good, and it cuts through, man.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I produced a record. That song was originally a demo that Jules had written for a different project of his, and he really wasn't using it. And I said, hey, can I take it and chop it up and rework it? He's like, hell yeah. So he and I got in the studio and did that, and I just thought In Our Blood was a good title for the album. It
Yeah.
was kind of the flagship. It was really the first song we wanted something a little more Americana, but that hits a little harder than Americana.
Right.
Because I'm such a big fan of that music. And then I realized, it takes a few albums to find your sound.
Yeah.
And I really think that by producing the record myself, by having had so much experience in the studio and also playing live, I thought this is the most authentic way to capture what it is I do.
Were you hindered by the pandemic stuff, lockdowns and all that during the
I was
recording?
hindered financially.
Oh, yeah.
I was pretty crushed.
Yeah,
I sold,
bet, huh?
I sold my old Panhead, and I sold, which is a Harley for all those non-Harley people, 1950 Harley. And,
Oh, man.
And then sold a couple guitars, and I just struggled. And then my friends who had big studios, they started time sharing their studios.
Oh,
and,
wow.
In Hollywood, everybody started closing up shop, and we weren't sure what was going to happen. I mean, you remember, for people were doing like, let's stay at home.
Yep.
Tip us in the inbox.
Yeah, do a live concert from your
Yeah.
living room.
Yeah, because I'm a full timer, so I actually had to get some part time work, and I still do. Here's Julian. Is this mic
Hey,
work?
yeah,
Is this mic
hop
work?
on.
Does this mic work?
It's live.
We were just
Hey,
Julian,
we were just talking
what's up?
about
What's up?
In Our Blood and how you had written that for another project of yours, and how we reworked it, and then we named it after the album because it was kind of flagship sound.
And then the recording process. Like, if you guys were
Straight up.
Yeah, hindered. Did you guys just do the classic in the studio, kind of old school way of doing it? Or were you hindered by that whole lockdown stuff? Did you have to do stuff remotely? Like, you record your part and kind of mix it later?
I mean, he's got a great studio in his house. So really, a lot of
killer.
it was recorded just right in. But
Awesome.
then, of course, we used a studio for drums because we wanted that live drum sound.
Yep.
We wanted everything to be as live as possible. But yeah, I mean, we did it as DIY as you could do it.
It comes across really well. I feel like, especially the lead single, it just sounds like you guys are in there rocking the F out, and just
He
it's
was
killer.
saying they're spinning In Our Blood a lot, and
Well, that's
also
awesome, man. Thank you.
It's in a recurrent rotation right now. I just feel like it's been out for over a year, but I feel like it has a lasting.
It's been out
kind
for
of-
over a year.
Isn't that crazy? May 5th, 2022 is what I have when
the
you
record-
released it. Isn't that
the
crazy?
record came out in March, but the
Wow.
single probably did come out.
Yeah, we've
in
been playing
April.
it for a while, and it's marinated now, and I feel like it's one of those ones when it comes on the air, I'm just cranking it up, and it's a great track. So just
Thank you
kudos,
for that.
man.
Yeah,
It's
thanks for
killer.
that, man.
It's really coming through. All right, so the festival. We're here at Aftershock. I heard this is your guys' first time playing Aftershock. Is that true?
It is true. Yes.
So what's your impressions of it? So how was the crowd for you guys? What's been the experience?
You know, it was surprising looking out at the crowd and seeing how many people were actually singing along to songs. And that, to me, and not just Bullet in My Hand, but like songs that we've never played live or we haven't played before, So, it was really fun. It was
That's
hot.
awesome. That's hot, right?
Hot. We were right, sun was right overhead.
He was
but-
saying you guys have a lot of old school kind of equipment, old guitars and things like that just don't do well in the heat, right?
Yeah, they're screaming, "Why?
Why are you
Why
doing
are you
this to
doing-
me?
His was hot. His guitar, our
Yeah.
guitars were hot.
Yeah,
to
you
the
got off
touch, for
stage and
sure.
you handed someone. They're like, "Oh,
Oh my!
But it's everyone here. Like,
Yeah.
I Prevail's on right now, and I was just out there watching those guys, and they're right in the sun. The
I
sun's
think
right
and
here.
Daughtry was just on, and
Yeah.
his sound cut off.
Oh,
His
probably
sound
because
cut
of the
off
heat.
after the
I
second
saw
song,
that. Poor
and
guy.
it was something to do with the heat generators overheating,
Yep.
this and that. So man, it's brutal up
Makes
there.
sense.
All
But
right,
it was
so
fun.
any plans for 2024? I know you guys are busy right now, wrapping up 2023. Anything you can let our listeners in on? Plans for 2024? Touring, music, otherwise?
So we're talking about new stuff.
Yes, new stuff.
Yeah. So for the rest of the year, we're putting out different versions. I guess reimagined versions of In Our Blood.
Oh, okay.
So we did an In Our Blood acoustic version,
right.
single.
Okay.
Then we did I Have a Hurricane that comes out probably next month,
Nice.
and I love it I love these versions. So we're doing new version of every song on the record, which
Okay.
I think is really interesting.
That's awesome.
It's kind of like remixing yourself.
Yeah, right on. So what inspired that? Were you guys just like, I love the way this sounds when I play it on my acoustic?
Yeah.
Kind of thing?
A little bit.
Yeah, it was an experiment. Like, honestly, we're like, what would happen if we took this, like, kind of heavy rock song and just
Stripped
did
it
it?
down?
Yeah. And then a lot of times, we look at each other, we're like, I think this might be better.
Well, there's no rules, right? Like,
No.
we nobody's over our shoulder. I'm like, I'm putting a church bell in this. He's like, okay,
Yeah.
you are.
That's awesome, man, to have that creativity of self-producing your stuff and just doing what you want to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, at this point in my life and career, I wouldn't accept anything else.
Hell yeah.
And there's, yeah, I mean, I think, honestly, I'm not sure. Musically, I've never really had to compromise in the years that I've made records, 6 albums, 5 record deals, 20 years in the game.
Yep.
I think you end up compromising somewhere else, like in the touring, in the logistics.
Sure, but not when it comes to the creativity part.
Yeah, I think sometimes I didn't want to put Old Man out first. I want to put Bullet out first because I didn't want to be the sample guy.
Bullet in My Head is a
I'm
great
thinking
track,
10
man.
years ago. There's things like that in my career where I've played the game and tried to work with teams of people, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
I think bands should be allowed to pick their single because they really know and feel
I think so.
what's good about their audience. Although I've seen it happen the other way where someone picks a song and I was like, no way. And it
then
turns
that
out,
turned out,
Yeah. Honestly, yeah.
for
That's
us
happened
and
a
for
few
our
times.
friends, like for AWOL Nation, Sail became a big hit. Now it was not even a B-side.
Really?
And now,
Isn't that crazy?
So things happen, but as far as creatively, we're pretty straight up. So it's either you like us or you don't.
I love that though. You get what you get what you put out there as real honest musicians, and if it comes across and it's something for you, then awesome. And it's something for us, man. And for our listeners on the Bear, we love your shit. So keep it up.
Thank you.
And send us more music ASAP.
We have
love
lots of riffs to come.
Tons
for
of
sure.
music coming out. We're working on the second, I don't know, what would be the 6th
Follow-up.
record?
6th,
7th.
7th,
I don't
8th.
know. We're working on
We don't
the
even know anymore.
I got a bunch of songs on the shelf. I call them car parts,
Oh
Putting
yeah.
a hot rod together. There.
And then you build.
Yeah,
right on. I love that.
I
Well,
do a lot of
guys,
car
thank you
analogies.
so much, Mark, Julian from Redlight
Yeah.
King. Thank you
Thank you.
guys so much for your time.
Thank you, man.